Welcome, everyone, to the Dad Cartel podcast. I'm excited to bring you conversations with great dads from across the country. Please follow the Dad Cartel on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok if you found value in this episode. And please share it with other dads to help create a great dad culture. If you're interested in participating as a guest, please email me at prouddad@dadcartel.com. Today, I'm joined by Spirit. Welcome, Spirit.
What's up, man? How's everybody doing?
Good, man. So you reached out because of one of the videos that I posted, and I don't know if it was the one that I said, "Hey, where are the badass dads at? I want to talk to some dads," or if it was one of the other videos. So just tell me, why did you reach out, and why is dad being a dad and everything to do with being a dad important to you?
First of all, I mean, it was the video of being a single dad. Doing it again for the second time.
Mm.
Didn't have the dad growing up, and so given that father figure to my boys was something I never got. So it was just something, like I said, I'm always looking for those single dads too, because you look at the courts and they're always favoring the mom, and it's like there's some good dads out there trying to be good dads, and the ones who ain't doing the work seems to, it's frustrating to see guys who don't want to be part of their sons' lives.
Yeah.
So that's why, catching it out and, watching that video is like, yeah, it hits home every once in a while. Just, try to be the best dad you can be, even though you didn't have that father figure. So, I try to teach my boys the morals and how to treat women. So I'm the youngest of 9 girls. So it's like, I got to show my boys, like, this is the kind of man you want to be around, with your women. But it's a little different than when we were growing up.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me about where'd you grow up, and what was it like?
Well, we started off in a small town in Wyoming, and then we moved all over the place with. So I guess I grew up like Casper, Wyoming, then grew up in Chicago. More than anything, Chicago was kind of my home because I don't remember anything in Wyoming. I was too young, I guess, when we moved. Yeah, and like I said, last time I saw my dad, I was 5, and he was, alcoholic, abusive, and everything. And just my mom got tired of it, and after that, it was just, trying to learn everything on your own. It's kind of one of those, my father figures growing up were like Walter Payton, Bruce Lee, the Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man Randy Savage. I mean, and it wasn't their character; it was the work they had to get there. And it's like I would watch these documentaries. It's like, okay, he's getting up at 3 a.m. to run the hill for, Walter Payton, and the workouts with Bruce Lee, Lou Ferrigno as the Hulk, and I'm a big Hulk fan. And it was just, as a kid with no father, you're looking for these answers because I'm the youngest of 9 girls, and they're not giving me no answers. So but the pro of growing up with around girls is I know how to respect women.
Yeah,
and then even it's just one of those things where, okay, I try to pass that on to my boys.
Yeah, that's important. So I'm actually from Chicago too. I'm born and raised on the south side over there by
Inglewood?
What was that?
Inglewood?
No, over there by it's Brighton Park technically, so right down the street from county jail. Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah, so I grew up in McKinley Park and then moved around a little bit, but Brighton Park and a few other areas. But yeah,
sweet.
Born and raised there. So
I grew up there too.
yeah, small world, huh?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, now I live. I'm in Colorado Springs now. I mean, my mom got tired of me always fighting with because my sisters would take all these weird dudes, and it was like, okay, we moved to Colorado Springs, but now it's a military town, so nothing changed.
Yeah, nice. So tell me about your kids. So how many kids do you have, and what's it like? What was it like becoming a dad, and how was that for you? Was it everything you expected, or was it different?
So I have a 29-year-old and I have a 10-year-old. So if anybody sees any of my social media, it's pretty much me and them. So the first time, I had a scholarship to play football, and my last game I messed up everything. Like, I got hit and I messed up my hip and everything. And the girl I was with was one of those ones where, oh, he's gonna go play professional, in her head. Well, when I hurt myself, no, we had the baby. She left. So about 2 months after we had him, she disappeared. So I was like,
Oh man.
no, we didn't even know where she was. We don't know if she was like it. The thinking process was so crazy. So I ended up raising my oldest by myself, and
Yeah.
then about 4 years ago, my youngest, the ex now, she so she had some stuff happen. We were friends before we kind of got together, and she had some stuff happen to her where her mindset wasn't really there, and I was always trying to like, hey, you need help. And we were friends before we even got together.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of beat her down, and so same thing, she decided to go, check other fields, and she knows she made a mistake, but now I'm raising my 10-year-old by myself, and it's
Mm.
like ugh, it's like deja vu, because it's funny, it's like 10 years apart with these two boys. But
Yeah.
is it bad? The first time it was like, what am I gonna give my boy that I didn't get? Because as a kid with no father, you're in that thinking process of, how do I be a dad? I don't know how to be a dad. Was never around somebody who was good enough to, be that role model. So I would just go off of movies and guys I wish I could have, been around. You
Yeah.
watch Family Matters, Carl Winslow is like, okay, I mean, there's a
Mm-hmm.
life lesson there. Or,
Yeah.
all these good dads that you saw growing up. So I would take parts and
Yeah.
pieces of that and be like, okay, this is what I wish somebody would have told me. So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, even to this day, it's still like, I tell a lot of dads who are single or even women, I'm like, parenting doesn't come with an instruction manual.
Yeah.
It just, we got to be the best what we can do, and I try not to force what I like onto my boys.
Yeah.
It's kind of, you got your talent. You got parts and pieces of me and your mom. You be the best you.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm not gonna sit there and say, "Yo, you're gonna play football or you're gonna play." You pick what you love, and I will back you 100%, 10%. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's powerful, man. It's what a roller coaster that must have been, because I have a about to be 3-month-old daughter, and the idea of taking care of her by myself is terrifying. Like, that as a man, right? Like as a woman, I think it comes, I don't want to say it's easier, it's always going to be harder, but it's more natural. And as a man, it's a lot different. We don't have that other half that's really important, right? Those motherly instincts. But it sounds like you struggle through that, and that's awesome for you, man, because that's so tough. That's
yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, honestly, after my first one, so I lived in my car for about 2 years because I lost my stuff. See, me and my mom, we don't get along. It's just she married this guy right after. Well, she got with this guy right after she left my dad, like 2 weeks. And what gets me about that with ladies, even because with my ex did kind of the same thing. It's like, you guys don't know how to be alone and build who you are as a person. You have to jump into the like next ride, or you need somebody in your life. You don't know how to be alone and learn how to build who you are. And it's
mm,
like, then you throw our kids into these, who's this guy? Because my mom did the same thing. It's like, who is this guy? You're not gonna hit me. You're not my dad. Like, kind of, even though my
yeah,
dad was abusive as a boy, as a man, I'm like, okay, this guy's telling me what to do. I don't even know who this guy is. You want me to love him? It's like, and that's what happened with my youngest. And I told her, it's
yeah,
like, cannot force this man into my son's life. Like, if you don't like him, you
yeah,
don't like him. Just because you like him doesn't mean that he has to put him up with. So it's that battle, and then the divorce and stuff like that. So I'm constantly always battling her, because her mindset has changed so much because this guy is always
yeah,
whispering in there. So as a dad in this situation, because the first son, it was easy because she never was around. So he was my son. Like, so this one's different because now I'm having to battle the mom, and what she wants him on her side. I actually got like, I got joint custody, but she's always trying to have control over
mm,
the stuff, and it's like, and we get along, but there's days where I think he gets in her ear and tries to, because of me.
yeah,
So it's like, you're not gonna control my kids and stuff like that. So I get it, man. It's a battle, and like I said, I'm glad I never had girls because I was the youngest of nine, and I already know how it was with my family. Because if I had a daughter, I mean, I'm overprotective with my boys now. I mean, if I would have had a girl, I mean, like, no, I would have tried to fight for full custody because this guy that she
Yeah.
got with, he's a little
Mhm.
off, and I won't throw the dirt out there, but it's a battle.
I hear you. No, I mean it's you as the dad, right? You're gonna naturally protective, right? We're
Yep.
protectors by nature, right? And I to that point, it's a shame when you hear that, right? When people, I've seen it too. I've had friends where, they're in a situation where they split up and their partner immediately brings someone into the house and things like
Yep.
that. And I think I get that people have to move on and have relationships and things like that, and that's important. I think that is, but picking who you let into your house, whether you are man or woman,
Yep.
like as a man, what woman you bring around your kids is also something that you should scrutinize and be very thorough and diligent with, because you can't just trust anyone around your kids.
Yep.
And you may,
Yep.
that yeah, that's probably the most important thing that you can do is shield them from, strangers and people that don't have their best interest in mind.
Yeah, that's how well, the guy that my mom's with, and this is a big reason why we don't talk, because he's like that. He tried to do some stuff with my cousins and my sisters, and I mean, it's like, you're still with him. I mean, like,
Mm.
leave. And for some of the
Yeah.
stuff he's done, he should be in prison. But yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. Like, I've been single since the divorce. Like, I'm that guy. It's like, I don't need, there's a difference between needing and wanting. And that's like, I don't need my son, like both of my sons, even to this day. Like, I tell people, kids are like sponges. They're gonna
Hmm.
watch. You can tell them all day long, but if they don't see you acting on it, they're not gonna. They're like, well, you're not doing it, kind of attitude. So
Hmm.
yeah, I've been single for 4 years, and like, my sons have seen me like, hey, you want to go on a date? Like, no, my sons come first, my boys come first. I don't, I'm so focused on building, because I gave up everything in the divorce. It's like, if this is what's going to make you happy, there you go. I just want my boy. That's all. Because
Yeah.
if I have to rebuild again, I've done it once. I can do it again. Like I
Yeah.
said, I lived in my car for about 2 years, and I do real estate investing during the week.
Mm.
And I read this Rich Dad Poor Dad book, and I read it. I was like, well,
Mm.
if he can do it, I can do it. And I
Yeah.
just started hanging out with all these real estate investors and realtors and asking questions. And it's like, I tell a lot of guys, it's up to us to show our kids what we're made of, kind of thing. And I said, I'm that guy. Like, you ever see movies or old TV shows where the grandparents' pictures up on the fire mantle? And it's
Mhm.
like, why is it up there? It's because they passed down that business to their kids, that generation after generation. And that's what I'm trying to do with my boys. So I always tell them, tomorrow's not promised to anybody. So
Yeah.
if I go, I want you guys to be able to take what I have taught you. I don't want to lead you everything. I want you to be able to have the education to keep doing what I showed you, not give you all my crap. Because
Yeah.
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, it's like
So
having the skills were, I think what you mentioned, like being able to rebuild, right? I talk about it all the time that, the most important thing I have is literally what I've learned, right? My mind, because I feel
mhm,
the same way as you, man. If I lost everything tomorrow, I'd figure a way to get it all back. Like it
yep,
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they take it away from me, it burns down, whatever it is, I'll
yep,
figure it out, right? And having that mindset is so important, right? That resiliency of, it doesn't matter what happens, I'm gonna figure it out. And my kids will too, and they'll see that and they'll, I'm sure they see it in you, right? They see it that you're just like, this is what I need to do. This is what I'm going to do. And now I'm doing it.
mhm,
And, more so than words, the actions always are what stick, right?
yep. Actions speak louder than words. When, like, my sons have seen me, because I've been doing martial arts since I was VA high, and I
Mm.
ran a school, and they saw that I would take the weakest link and put them in the middle of my strong group. And then my oldest like, why do you do that? He's not that good. I said, okay, what if that was you? I
Mhm.
said, what if you were the bad student? And I said, I want you to be around all the good students, because they're already good at what they do.
Yeah.
We need to get you up where they're at. So if you
Yeah.
surround yourself with positive people, and I always tell people, you are who you hang out with. That's my thing with my sons.
Mhm.
You are who you hang out with. So
Yeah.
if you're hanging out with this broke crowd, and they're going to cost, well, you could be number 10 if you're hanging out with 9 of them. If you hang
Mhm.
out with 9 successful investors, you're gonna get that
Mhm.
mindset. So my sons are, I'm constantly, and they see that I don't hang out, I don't go to the clubs, I don't go hang out with, these guys are always drinking, and I've never drank in my life because of how my dad was. I mean, I think the pros of not having the dad is like, okay, if I would have stuck around my dad, would have I, I could have been like that, use that excuse to hit women and be like, well,
Yeah.
my dad did it, I'm going to do it. But
Mhm.
I think at 5 years old, I was like, if I ever do this, I mean, it's weird at 5 years old, you're thinking, I will never do this to my kids if I ever, did
Yeah,
that.
I know. I can
And
relate.
people
Yeah.
like, they'll make fun of me. Oh, you don't drink, and I'm like, well, you don't drink Slim Fast. I mean, they try to make me feel bad because I don't, drink the alcohol or I don't want to have fun. And it's like I work nightclubs in Chicago. It's like
Hmm.
I see you the next day. You're sick. You're throwing up. It's like what's the fun of that? So
Yeah. You're not missing out.
yeah, it's like I'm not doing it. I mean, I'm okay with people who drink and who have some, but I'm always okay. Who's the ones going to start to
Mhm.
fight? Who's the ones going to act
Mhm.
stupid? Who's one? And then that's where I get guarded really quick because it
Yeah.
reminds me of that, dad coming home and that sound and that smell and that taste of him. It's like it's a trigger for me. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
We got to go. So
Yeah, I grew up in a similar way. My dad was same thing, alcoholic, and same type
mm,
of thing, abusive physically with my mom, and
yep,
tried with us sometimes. And it was a lot of
yep,
that too, man. Where I told myself like I'm not gonna become that same person. And it was exactly how you said. Even at 5 years old, thinking, if the day comes that I'm a dad, I'm never gonna be that.
mm,
And because of that, I mean, a couple of years ago I quit drinking too, and same thing, just like
yeah,
I'm not going to do it, and it's not worth it, it's pointless. And you get those looks when people say like you don't drink, and it's like no,
yeah.
I'm okay. And
Well,
that's like
that's how I am though. It's like, what, you don't work out?
yeah,
I throw stuff back at him. It's like, well,
yeah,
you
yeah,
don't go to church.
yeah,
It's like that's how you're trying to make me feel. So
yeah,
cool it. I won't drink. Like same with because I did canines for a long time too, and they was like, oh, you don't smoke weed. You don't. It's like my sons are watching.
yeah.
Like my oldest, he does it like when he. So what happened with my oldest? I had him all the way to about 13, and his mom would come in and out of his life within that time period, and she
Mm,
would promise him this stuff for Christmas. Well, like I said, she was gone for about like 2 years, and all of a sudden she came back, and we thought you were dead, and and it messed with my boys. Like, so this is my mom. It's like, yeah, this is your mom, like, kind of thing. But then she
yeah,
started. Well, it was kind of like the Will Smith on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where the dad would come
yeah,
and leave, and she was the same way. So she was having issues with drugs and stuff too, and finally she started clearing up, and she moved to Arizona. And my
mm,
son's like, he started doing really bad in school, and I was like, "What? Hey, you've been able to talk to me. What's going on?" And
mhm,
he goes, "I want to just know who my mom is." And so we made this. We kind of, I think, was the biggest mistake I've ever done, but I let him go move in with her. And so his college, or not college, his high school years, the years that he needed me. And
yeah,
so I would call him and I would fly down there, but it was like he's in that adult manhood, so he needs dad, not mom.
yeah,
The roles were reversed. He needed mom during the the coddling and the it's okay baby kind of thing. But
yeah,
then it got to the point where she's not helping them look for a job or colleges or anything. So I was like, after graduation, you're coming back.
mm,
So we go to graduation, which that's the other thing. He got to graduate, which I never did. He has no
mm.
kids. He's 29 years old, and he's never been thrown in jail.
That's awesome.
Whole separate
It's already a big step ahead, huh? Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, hey, what more can you ask for?
yeah, and that's what I told him. I said, "You have done more than I did in my whole life. I didn't get to finish school because I got angry. I didn't. I mean, I've been thrown in jail because of fight, and just stuff like I don't want you to have to go through that lifestyle." But anyway, he came back, and though the wife at the time with my youngest, we had a little conversation in my house. It's like, look, you got really lazy with your mom. You wanted, he got really bad, and we have this meeting in the kitchen. I go to bed, and my wife comes in. She goes, "Hey, he's crying at the table." I was like, "Why? We just had a great conversation." So I go into the kitchen and I say, "Hey, what's your deal?" He was so upset that I was going to be disappointed with him because he was smoking weed back in Arizona because he
Yeah,
knew I did canine. He knew I did canines, narcotic searches with my dogs. And I said, "Look, you are 18 years old. You're pretty much a grown ass man." I said, "I don't give
mm,
a fuck what you do or put in your mouth or whatever. Just don't do it in my house. Don't bring it
yeah,
into my house." And I said, plus my dogs are going to hit on you every single time you come into my house. And so he
Yeah.
was man enough to tell me I did this, but he knew I was going to be disappointed because of how I was. And I told him, I said, don't be, because he had issues with girls and, you know how it is. And I said, and I grew up with so many girls, it's easy for me to be like, bye, the door's right there. Like, I don't need you. Like, that's my attitude because I've been around so many girls. So he's very, he has the big heart for the wrong people.
Yeah.
And then he has the mommy issues. So it's always that constant, like he's trying to replace his mom. So I'm always having to get on. I was like, look, don't find these broken women. Stop looking for these broken, because they're gonna use you. They're gonna be broke all the time. I said, build your empire. They'll come to you. Don't go looking for love, because it's never gonna happen. I said, even look with me. I'm with a divorce. Nothing lasts forever. I said, if it does not work, it's not gonna work. So, but yeah, I mean, that's the part of being a single dad, man. It's just, do I have all the answers? No. Will I ask people who have been through that situation? That's how I work. I'll be like, okay, he made it. What did he do right? So I'll ask, parts of questions. I tell my sons that all the time. If you need to know the answer and I don't, find somebody who knows the answer. I'm not going to sit here and make up an answer for you, because then it makes me look bad when it's wrong. So
yeah. Or even in combination, you guys looking at like, well, how did this person do it right, or how did this person navigate that situation right? That's powerful in itself, right? And you saying I don't have all the answers is what most parents don't do, right? They pretend they do, and they'll just posture like they know it, and you need to listen because I say so, and that's not productive whatsoever, because kids that even at a young age can call bullshit, right, and say that doesn't seem right, like that's not okay. And to your point, to your point earlier, kids are, like, we as kids see TV shows and we'll see, like, say you mentioned Family Matters, right? For me, it was the Huxtables, and it was like the Cosby Show, even before the Bill Cosby stuff came out and all that stuff. But a perfect family. Can you hear me?
it kept cutting out.
Sorry, hold on. There we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Yeah, I think I lost my headphones there. I was just saying that the Cosby Show and the Huxtables on there before all the Bill Cosby stuff, like, they were that picture perfect family that I'm like, that's how I want to do it, right? Like, here you have a mother and a father who are there and supportive and giving these life lessons, dropping knowledge, right? Like, you see the dad dropping knowledge when you see Theo going through stuff, and it's like, I want to be that guy, right? I want to be that guy that, like, steps up and has the answers. And sometimes he had, like, these very transparent conversations, I think was the big takeaway there. And it's powerful, just being honest and having the confidence to be vulnerable and enough, and the humility to show your kids that, hey, I don't have this figured out, but, like, let's figure it out together.
Yep. And that's what I always tell my little one too, because through the divorce, he was having a really hard time because it was just me and him. Like, if you go back to my social media, which was weird because mom never wanted to be in the pictures, and I was like, hey, let's take a picture. And like, her mindset was, so she had some stuff happen to her when she took a trip to Mexico, and if you would think about it, and she came back, and she had to see if she was pregnant. Some guys took advantage of her, kind of thing. And so she was with the guy at the time, and I was like, hey, you need to talk to somebody. And it just started haunting her, and that's how we ended up getting divorced, because she got to the point where she wanted more. And like, it's like, we're already there, like, we're successful, what else do you and it's just that next level is like, okay, you want all this stuff that you already have. You're not grateful for what you have today, because it could be taken tomorrow. So what's your deal, kind of thing. So and like I said, with the whole like the Huxtables and Family Matters, like you said, I was in the same boat. It's like, I wish a guy would come and talk to me. And I tell my boys this all the time. I will never know what it's like to run up to my dad and say I love you, or have these conversations. And it's like, that's the hardest thing for me. Like, he died last November, my dad, and I got this phone call. My sister's like, hey, dad died. I was like, okay. And like, I haven't seen him since I was 5. Like, and then everybody got mad at me, and I wasn't like, I was being a prick about it. It was just like, what do you want me to do? I haven't seen him since I was 5. Like, he wasn't
Yeah.
there. I never, he never called. He never tried to look for me. So why should I go to this funeral? Like,
Yeah.
and everybody was getting mad at me. Well, he's your dad. It's like, yeah, it would be different if he was in my life, but
Yeah.
he wasn't. So,
Yeah.
and even my sons are like, you're not good. I said, and I had to explain to him why. I said, it'd be like me doing that to you. Not being in your life and then all of a sudden want something from you.
Yeah.
And so they kind of get it. My oldest gets it. But like I said, I always tell him, I will never know what it's like to do that, ever.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
I always grew up and I had finding that tribe of dads. I had a lot of best friends, and one in particular who his dad, again, to me they had kind of that, like, the Mexican version of the Huxtables, where mom and dad were there, and I
yep,
learned a lot from him and paying attention to him because I was around my best friend so much, so he got to whatever lessons he was teaching his own son, he would pass on to me too, of like, hey, don't do
yeah,
that, or do this. And I can totally relate to what you're saying. There for a long time I had this really strange relationship with my dad because he was in and out of prison, and just like
mm-hmm,
when he was there, he was an alcoholic and just like not present really, just basically looking for the next drink and that type of
yep,
thing. And at the tail end before he died, it was a lot of the same kind of like same type of thing and same song and dance and same type of thing. And it's so exhausting after a while that
yep,
that basically I had to push him out of my life because it's
yep,
like I can't keep doing this. And something about it, like something in me told me, just let it go, forgive him and move on. And I did. And before he died, we were on good terms. But I totally get where you're coming from, where it just gets exhausting and you're like,
yep,
whether in your scenario he wasn't even around long enough for it to be exhausting, but totally can get why, you don't know anyone anything, right? Like
yep,
wasn't there for you, so you don't need to step up for someone who definitely wasn't there for you. So it's hard to explain to people that have never dealt with that strange relationship, because on the
yeah,
outside looking in, it's like that's half of the person that created you, but at the same time they didn't keep you alive. So
yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's the one thing I tell my sons too, even with that, like, yeah, did I forgive him? Yeah, I forgave him a long time ago. Like, as a kid growing up, it's like, if I ever find him, I'm gonna, because what he did to my mom and my sisters and me. And you get older and you start becoming, adult about it.
Yeah.
And when he died, I told him, I was like, yeah, I mean, no, I'm not gonna go to the funeral or anything, but I did say this. I actually did a TikTok on about it. I said, look,
Mm,
whatever he had to go through as a child made him the man he was.
yeah.
Whatever he had to go through, or whatever he was angry, and that this was his way of hiding his pain and making people
Mhm.
feel his pain. I said the wrong way to do it, but you think
Yeah.
about what he probably had to go through to be as angry and mad as he was. So yeah, I
Yeah.
forgave him. We all go through it. I mean, was I perfect growing up as a kid? No, any of us. I tell my sons there is no such thing as perfect, and that's
Mhm.
the first thing. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to learn from your mistakes. You're going to learn from your failures. And and the other thing is, when I talk to my oldest, because he's like 29 now, I said it's
Mhm.
easy to make a baby. It takes a man to raise them. And
Yeah.
all the time I said, even for women, it's easy to have these kids, and then all of a sudden, oh, I don't want them anymore. They're not
Yeah.
puppies. They're not kittens. They're human
Yeah.
beings. So I think
Right.
that's why, like I said, 29, and he has no kids. So I think it stuck with him. So
Yeah.
it
No, I mean,
is easy to make a baby.
it's something that people need to take a lot more seriously, right? Because it's like you said, they're not puppies that you can give away. It's so difficult. We were just talking to a family member the same way, where young girl, and she's just at that stage where she's starting to, what seems like, explore having sex and do things like that. And it's like, we're telling her, I'm 31 going on 32, my wife is in her late 20s also,
Yeah.
and we're telling her, we both have careers and we're both doing pretty damn good, I'd say. And we tell her, like, look at us, and you think we have it figured out, we're still struggling, like it's
Yep.
still hard for us. And so if you think you as a teenager, any kid out there can figure it out, and it's gonna, yeah, you'll figure it out, but is it the ideal scenario? No. Like you
Yeah.
should wait until you're ready, right? Both in mentally, financially, like, try to get yourself as level as you can. And then if you decide to do that, then yeah, good for you. I strongly advocate people have kids, but you know, you have to be ready for that because it's a
Yeah,
big undertaking.
yeah, and I mean that's like with the ex. So she has like I said, we were together for 12 years, you know, and I told my, because I only been married once. I was like, it took me 37 years to ask that question. I was like, anyone I ask, I was like, I'm doing this wrong. Because I know,
Mhm.
I knew what she went through, and I was like, okay, well, we've been together for 7. We might as well, kind of attitude. It's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
then when she would always say, oh, I'd never do this to you. I'll never do that. And I used to tell her, don't say never, because you never know.
Mhm.
Life changes stuff. And
Yeah.
sure enough, some stuff happened and stuff like that. But after all that, I told her, karma's going to get you. I said, you knew that I didn't want to get married. You knew I didn't want no more kids because of what I went through with my oldest.
Mhm.
Well, I told her, when she told me, she was like, well, if karma gets me, karma gets me. Well, the year after she lost her, she had a miscarriage. And
Oh
she
man.
called me, I'm so sorry. Like, she apologized. We have these conversations where she apologized. She knows she did wrong. So we still have this nice, kind of sometimes good relationship when she's not in her
Yeah.
moods. But
Yeah.
besides that, it just, you know, I know she loves my son. She does, you know, it's not like she just disappeared like the first one. So she's part of his life. But what's getting my son is I'll play around. Like, there's nice looking women out there. Yeah, I mean, as a man, she's, you know, she's beautiful. But my son's so guarded with me that, like, he's like, you know, I'll play around, like, hey, how you doing? And he was like, no, stop it, Dad, stop it, because he's so worried that I'm gonna do what his mom did to him, that
Mhm.
replace in somebody because of, you know, like he'll tell me, well, they just go in the room and I'm in the living room by myself, or, you know, they'll go play video games and I ask if I can play and they don't. So he feels like he's having to find a place there when he's
Yeah.
with them. And
Yeah.
then got 2 more boys now, and so we have this argument where she wants me to teach him how to be an older brother, and I'm like, first of all, when he's with me on my time, he's my baby. He's not an
Yeah.
older, he don't have that responsibility. So it's not my job to teach him how to be an older brother to your kids. That's your job. That's your
Yeah.
job. I said, I
Mhm.
tell him to respect him and everything, but when he's with you, now he's the oldest. So he's back and forth with these feelings of, well, I'm an older brother here, but when I'm with dad, I'm his baby.
Yeah.
Because so he's in that between. So he's always trying to figure out, where do I fit in? Where do I go? So I'm always having these
Yeah.
conversations. And I said, whatever you think, let it out. Don't hold it in.
Mhm.
And that's where I'm always with both boys. I said, I don't care if you think it's going to hurt my feelings. I don't care if you feel like you think it's
Yeah.
bad. If you don't get that out and you hold on to it, it's going to get you so anxiety that you're like, oh, I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to do this. I said, no, I
Yeah.
need you to be a man. This is how you become a good man. And
Yeah.
this, did you ever see the Man of Steel? The first movie,
No. No, I haven't.
Henry Cavill, the first. Well, Kevin Costner is dead in the movie. You know, the Earth Dad, and I
Mm.
kind of took a part of that quote where he's like, "What kind of? Because you have all this power. What
Yeah.
kind of man do you choose to be? Is you could be you know you could take the whole world out by yourself if you wanted to, or you could be the good man and just make the right decisions." And I kind of use
Yeah.
that with my son. It's like, if you're thinking all this stuff and you want, I say, what kind of man do you want to be when you grow up? Do you want to be this lying, cheating, whatever, or you want to be this honest man that people want to be hang out with? And
Yeah.
so, if you get a chance to watch it, there's, even if you get that clip, it's when he's a kid and this kid
Yeah.
pushes him, he slams him against to the fence, and he's getting ready to get up to punch this kid, and his dad comes finally, and that's when you hear that little
Yeah.
speech. What
The
kind of
voice in
man do
his head.
you? And that it always stuck with me, even as whenever that
Mhm.
year, the year that movie came out. I mean, like you said, you're still taking information. Like, yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
that's a good quote. That's a good saying. So,
Yeah. That part that you mentioned so powerful where we're saying telling your kids like don't hold anything in, like say it, don't just bottle it up, right? Because I feel like as men we default to, you know, bottling everything up, and that's probably why you see such high suicide rates for men
yep,
compared to women, right? Because we don't talk about our feelings. We don't say things like that. We don't even talk to each other, right?
yep,
As men, like barely, it's very surface level, right? It's very much like, you know, how was the game, that type of thing. But it's rarely ever like, hey, like what are you like? How are you though? Like how are you really, right?
yep.
And like that's very hard to have. And I just started having some of those conversations with my brother, and for us, it wasn't natural, and it's, kind of awkward at first, but then
Yep.
it's really like, it's really nice because we check in on each other, right? And even with like, I have maybe one other friend who probably consider a brother or really consider a brother, and same type of thing, like just asking like, hey, how are you? Like all other bullshit aside, how are you? And I think everyone needs an outlet like that, right? Because life's not hard, or life's not easy, it's hard, and there's a lot of like daily shit that we go through, and whether it's like work or relationships, or relationships with our kids, and the struggles that go there. But having someone to bounce ideas off of and talk to is so relieving.
Yeah. I said with my boys, that's like I said, the whole talking thing, it was like, well, you don't cry, you don't do this. It's like, look, we grew up Southside Chicago. We were always fighting. I mean, my dad
Mhm,
was always beating me. So it's like mentally I'm conditioned. And with my
mhm.
boys, like my oldest, he didn't want to play football. He got rocked for the first time, and like, I don't want to do this. But then something clicked. He wanted to fight, he wanted to train, and it's like, where's this
Yeah,
coming from? Like,
yeah,
so it's just that I told him earlier, it's like, don't be me. Don't live my life. Cause like my oldest at one time, I picked him up from school and he was about 6 years old. And the
mhm,
guys I used to hang out with from the club used to, well, your dad used to do this. And I said, stop telling him my fighting stories. I don't want him, that's my lifestyle, dude, kind
yeah,
of thing. And we're driving. He goes, well, when I get older, I want to be a bouncer just like you. I said, no, you don't. You're
yeah,
not, I said, no. And that was the other thing. When he moved to Arizona, I always told him, I said, I want you to at least know something. I didn't force martial arts into their life. It was my
mhm,
thing. We grew up with Bruce Lee and the Kung Fu theater.
yeah,
I was like, I want to do that. Well,
yeah,
he wasn't really like that because he had that thing where, he was really, I want mommy, I want mommy. My mom's not around kind of attitude. So I never
mhm,
babied him, but it was like, you need to play sports. I put him in sports. No, if he didn't like it or not, that's the only thing I did do is because I didn't want him getting into trouble. You're gonna
yeah,
hang out. I'm gonna keep you busy. That's what, but you don't have to get there and fight or do anything. So the whole, I want to be a bouncer kind of thing. Like, look, you're not gonna be me. You're gonna do your own life. I will show you and get you where you need to be, but I'm not gonna force, I'm not gonna force what I like on you. You
yeah,
pick what you like. I'm not gonna. It's kind of like kids in school, and I'm big against schools because I was that kid that was like, I tried my ass off. Like, I'm never gonna use this. And so when I do, because I do real estate investing, when I go to Phoenix to do the motivational stuff, I kind of tell them the same thing. I said, you got all these kids in school. What if
mhm,
this kid's a comedian? What if this girl over
yeah,
here is a singer? What if this kid, and they don't work on their talents? They're forcing stuff that they're never going to need and making
yeah,
employees versus entrepreneurs and business owners. And that's what I,
yeah,
my sons is like, you have this talent, use it. Stop trying to figure out computers when you're good at this. Hire somebody
yeah,
to do computers for you. It's kind of
yeah,
like the Huckleberry Finn story. Like, don't work hard, work smarter. Find somebody to do this for
yeah,
you while you run your business. And
yeah,
so I was always that entrepreneur back home. It's like, I sit there in class, I'm like, I'm never gonna use this. English, math, that's all I'm pretty much we're gonna
yeah,
need. I'm not gonna go rocket science.
yeah,
I'm a hustler, I'm real estate, I'm a canine handle. I work on my strengths versus I'm not gonna spread myself thin because next you know, 10 years have passed and you're so busy trying to figure who you out when it's right in front of your
yeah.
face.
Yeah, schools aren't built that way, right? I always say that. Like, I think for personalities like ourselves, I think could we figure something out? Yeah, but how long would it take, right? And it's valuing your time and saying maybe it doesn't make the most sense for me to become a mechanical engineer if it's going to take me 20 years to do it, right? And I'm going to make X amount of dollars, right? Like 100 grand or some,
Mhm.
very low amount. But it's and it's playing to that, right? But schools don't do that. Schools tell you like, get a college degree, do this, like go
Yep.
be an accountant, work for a big firm and all that stuff. But they're not telling you, hey, if you just read these books or like focused in on like this particular individual, you could start your own business at 18 and it would cost you very little capital to start it,
Yep.
and you can scale. By the time you scale it, like in 10 years you'll be making 100 times 100x what you would have made if you got some sociology degree,
Yeah,
right?
and
They don't
that's what I tell with my oldest. So me and my oldest bump heads too, because the old school way of thinking from grandparents and mom is get a job, get a job, get a job, get a job. And it's like, okay, you've seen my checks, and not to like brag, it's like you've seen my checks. Like I'm doing something right. And so he's like, well, they say that won't last forever. I said, okay, think of it this way. I said, you're always chasing money. You're always chasing money. I said, go outside, go where, like on a sunny day, look at your shadow. Try to chase your shadow and catch it. And I said, you're never going to do that. I said, if you turn around and walk away from the sun, your shadow is going to follow you. That's how you got to see money. If you're chasing money, you never catch it. But if you build something, a system where money follows you, you're not after. You're building what you love to do. Money will follow as soon as you're done doing that. And so he's starting to kind of get it now because he works at this soccer place and he loves to do it. I said, but if you love the soccer and all that, and you know that it's working, take what you love, build something out of it, so the money starts following you. Because you complain, well, I don't have enough for this. I don't have enough. I said, it's your mindset of you saying that. You know, I said, like I said, with schools, I said, schools teach you how to be an employee. I said, when you go to school, you go in, you go to recess. What is that? That's 15 minutes. Then you go back in, do some more work. Then you have lunch. And then you go back and do work, and then you have another 15. I said, what is a job? You go to job, 9 o'clock. You get a 15-minute break. You go back to work. You get lunch. I said, they prepare you to be an employee. Just not my thing. And so
that's a great point.
And then I said, it's the same similarities. And then like the whole prison system, you know, the way they do the prison, it's the same thing. It's like prison is security. You know, you're secure, but you don't have the freedom to do what you want. And I said, that's how you should see your life. It's like you have all the freedom in the world, but you want to be so comfortable with that paycheck that they keep you there with fear. Like, oh, if I don't get paid, I'm going to lose everything. I'm going to like lose everything, because now you're going to figure out, how can I get it back? But you need to lose everything. I lived in my car. I lived in my car trying to raise. And that was the other thing. When I lived in my car, his grandparents on his mom's side treated me like their son, because, you know, I didn't disappear. You know, they thought I was going to be the one to do that. So I would take them to him, and I mean, I was working 3-4 jobs because I didn't want them to know I was living in my car. And I would go get them, and, you know, we'd go to the park and say, well, I got to work tonight. And I, you know, so if it wasn't for them helping me out, I don't know where I would have been with all that. But
sometimes we need that, right?
Yeah, I figured it out. And that's where a lot of guys, I hear these war stories when I go to these real estate functions where, okay, well, I did like these excuses. And I said, look, I'm going to tell you something right now. I said, yes, that's a bad situation from what you told me. I went through it. I get that you're going through it. I said, but you got a house? Yeah. You got a car? Yeah. I said, your lifestyle is somebody's fantasy in a different country.
100%.
For that. I said, you got somebody, like I said, we're so spoiled in this country. And this is what I'm teaching my boys. I said, we're so spoiled in this country. We can go to the bathroom, piss in water, and flush it. And you got somebody across the world walking 2-3 miles just to get a glass of clean water. I said, be grateful for what you have now and stop. Oh, I need more. I want more. I need that. And the same as like Christmas. I tell my sons, okay, where's the stuff I got you last year? You know, you wanted it so bad. Where's it at? And it's like, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I said, be grateful, because like you said, me growing up with nothing, you know, the toys and stuff that I wanted as a kid is like, I made stuff. I wanted the Hall of Justice, what is it? The set. I ended up making my own with aluminum foil in a box, but I was grateful because it came from here. And I always tell my boys, it's like, I'm getting them to the point where share your stuff, give, because it'll come back to you. It might not happen today, might not happen tomorrow, but it will come back to you.
100%. Yeah, my mom taught me that lesson too, right? She's one of those people that just gives and gives and gives to charity. And, you know, she doesn't make a ton of money, but she, you know, I asked her one day, like, you know, aren't you spreading yourself a little thin sometimes? And she's like, you know what, it comes back to you tenfold. You know, like that's the way. And I don't do it for that, but I found that, you know, it makes me happy that I'm in a position where I can help. And then 2, like it always comes back tenfold. And it's and then once I changed that mindset too, it was like night and day, right? Whether it's like giving my time or, you know, money or whatever it is, it's so powerful, right? Like when you can do that. And yeah, man, to your point, we're in I love that expression when someone said, I don't know who said it, but like it's basically like being born in the United States is like winning the lottery, because
Yep.
like name another country where you have this much opportunity and it's at your fingertips and all these freedoms. There's no other place. Like even
Yep.
now you see it with the times we're living in. It's there's still nowhere that's even remotely close. So when people complain and make excuses, man, it's so hard to hear it, because
Yeah, and like you
I
said,
know those
though,
barriers are self-imposed.
yep. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of that. There's a video that I watched not too long ago where this guy put some fleas in a cup, and
Mm.
they mentally get trained, and when they take the lid off, they only go as far as that lid was because they're conditioned
Uh,
to bounce that high. And it's like that's
mhm.
how growing up as with no family or no dad and everything, and that's why it's like Tony Robbins, Lisa Nichols, a lot of these motivational guys. If you go back into their history, they went through a lot of and if it wasn't for them going through that, they wouldn't be where they're at. They found a way, they
Yeah,
figured it out. And that's where I see myself. Same thing is like I could have used the excuse of, well, my dad did it. I might as well hit a woman because it's gonna make me feel better or whatever
yeah,
went through. It's like I made a decision not to be that. We all
yeah,
have that ability to. What decision are you gonna be? What kind of man? Like I said, the whole Superman thing. What kind of man do you want to be left when you leave this planet? What's your thumbprint going to be? What is it that people are going to remember you as? And I always tell my sons, it's like back when we were growing up, we had the Polaroids, the
hmm,
picture stuff like that. I said, and I told my oldest, he got a little jealous with my youngest because there's a lot of me and my little boy on social media now. I was, well,
yeah,
you never did that with me. I said, yeah, I did. I just got it on the big old VCR, on
yeah,
tape. And I said, I take it out and I try to record stuff so I can share it on here too. But I said, the reason I do so much social media, and it's not to try to be famous or be popular. And yeah, do I throw some motivational stuff out there and be funny sometimes? It's because when I go, you're going to have me. I might
yeah,
be gone, but you're going to have, I love my sons. We went to a Bulls Nuggets game not too long ago. I said, you're going to have the memory and the palm of your hand. You won't have to go get a note, big old box of, you can screenshot
yeah,
it and one. I said, I don't have that. I said, so
yeah,
if anything happened to my kids, I have that. Like I had
yeah.
my cousins lost both of her kids to a drunk driver at the same time.
Oh man.
But 13 and 14 years old. And that always like, people were like, yo, you need to get over it. You need to go over it. They're gone. And it's like, have you been through it? Have you lost your
Yeah,
kids?
right,
Can't
right.
sit there and tell her to do that. So she needs
Yeah,
to talk to somebody who has lost their child and been
yeah,
successful getting over that. I said, I can't say anything because I don't know what that feels like. I
right.
can't sit there and try to preach to her like, oh, get over it. You're strong. It's like, no, she needs to talk to somebody out. What steps does it take to, even to this day, it's been about 13, 14 years since it's happened. And
Mhm.
she's still, it's like, those were her babies. Like, how would you
Yeah,
feel if you lost your kid? So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, it just, you know, the single dad life, bro. It's
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 tough,
work.
man. It's tough, but I'm sure it's worth it, right? Like the
It
struggles
is.
and
It
everything you
is.
go through, right? It's like you wouldn't trade it for anything, because I know just me in my brief time, my daughter's barely going to be 3 months old, but I'm like, man, I wouldn't trade this for anything. People ask me like, I'm still around people that are, going to the clubs and going to bars and doing that stuff, and they want to, like, their priority is I want to travel the world and things like that, and they're like, you don't prefer to do that, or you don't want to like go to the bar. I'm like, dude, there's nothing I'd rather do than be with my wife and my kid. Like,
Yeah.
there's
When I
nothing
said
I'd rather.
I worked, so when I worked nightclubs, it wasn't to go party. They paid me very well.
Yeah,
And as a fighter, and this is what I tell a lot of people: from 19 to about 25, I was a very, very angry man. I didn't care. I would fight anybody who looked at me wrong, and it was because I was angry. What
hmm,
started happening, and I'll be honest about this too, from when she left, I used women like nothing. It was because I was angry. I was like, fuck women,
yeah,
fuck that. I was so angry with that I
yeah,
used women all the way to about 25. And I
yeah,
started thinking, like, my son, I'm turning into my dad without the alcohol.
yeah,
Like, it started to really sink in, and I said, my son's gonna see this and think. I never brought the women around my son. I just
yeah,
eventually gonna start wanting to hey, I want to see your son and stuff like that. So after 25, I stopped. I still worked the clubs, but I stopped with I just stopped everything. It's like, go to work. Once 1:30 hit, I was out. There was no hanging out. Let's go to IHOP or let's go get bread. It was boom, 1:30 home. And it got to the point like I started hitting 28, 29. I'm like, this is the same faces, the same music. And the last night, I think it was an eye opener for me. This big Mexican dude goes and slaps this girl. And I was transitioning to my canine business because I was talking to an officer outside of this building of this club, and we're just talking, and this big Mexican dude goes and slaps this girl. They're fighting, and I was like, "Yo, bro, like that's like a trigger for me. Don't be hitting, even if she just don't hit a woman in front of me." So he takes his bottle off the table and he comes at me, and I kicked him right in the chest. Hit him so perfect that he fell back and hit his head on the pavement. Well, the officer goes up to him and he was like, "He's not breathing." I was like,
"Oh man."
What? So I'm pacing back and forth, and he's like, "It was self-defense." And I said, "Yeah, I said, if he would have broken into my house, different story." I said, "But this guy's having a bad night." Well, there was some EMTs at another club across the street, so they came over and they got the paddles and stuff, and clear. And so about 3 minutes, he wasn't 3-4 minutes. So I'm like, that's it. I'm done. Like I went upstairs to the owner, and he goes, "Well, we'll pay you this." I was like, it's not even about the money anymore, dude. Like if I go, my sons are fatherless now. That's it. I feel it's done. And I was like, that was the first thing. As I'm a single dad, I can't hurt somebody's word. It's gonna put me in prison. Even if it was self-defense. I mean, the whole court thing. It's like, you know what? No, I'm good. And so that's where I had to be the 25 all the way up. I was like, 29. It's time to get out of the clubs. I'm done. I can't do this no more. So then that's why I got into the real estate and the business stuff and the canine stuff. And, me doing what I'm doing, my sons are seeing that. They're watching. They're sponges. They're like, and it's like my oldest, he has all these other people just speaking in the air, but he's starting to understand like, well, hey, if I build something, I said, you see these people on TikTok, these kids are 24, 25 years old, 500,000 millionaires because they figured out the system, especially during COVID. I was like, if they can do it, I can do it. You can do it. What's their they figured it out. No one, they didn't go to some college to play on this shit. Like I said, this little device is gonna make a lot of millionaires. And I keep telling my sons that it's like, keep doing what you love on this thing. Eventually you're gonna, it's not even about views or likes. It's about what you love doing.
Like you said, create the system for your passion, and the money will come. I mean, I'm a firm believer in that, man. You talk to so many, I'm sure you talk to a lot of successful people too, and that's what they tell me, right? And it sounds a little cliched now at this point, but it's true, right? Because you have to get up every day and do this shit, right? Like whatever it is. And if you're not giving it your full attention and you're not passionate about it, you don't care, like people see that, right? Like you don't come across as authentic. And that's going to be the big differentiator, right? That's why I think that's how a lot of people differentiated themselves on TikTok and different platforms, right? Because they were able to do whatever it is, right? Like there's people that were like making crazy bowls of cereal, but you can tell that they're like obsessed with cereal, and people are like, oh, that's cool. Like this guy actually cares about cereal. Wow, that's random. Or I'm a beekeeper, and like now like millions of people follow this lady who's a beekeeper, and they're like, wow, like someone actually cares about that.
Well, it's like because I do real estate investing, but like on the weekends I have a toy store, and so when I do the real estate, there's people leave all this crap. So I have vintage like He-Man, GI Joe. I find all this vintage stuff, and my son's like, this is what I tell my boys. Now, this is for the whole planet. I tell people this: people always buy crap. You go to a Starbucks, you just spend $7 on a cup of coffee. You go again, you spend another $7. You do it 3 times a day. How much did they spend within a month? You go to a flea market, people are buying other people's crap. You go to Walmart or Christmas or anything, you buy all this shirts, toys, whatever. What happens to that stuff years later? The technology that we grew up on. Everybody wanted the floor model TV. Where do you see those anymore? I want the new flat screen. I got it now. Oh, well, the new one comes with a curve. I want. And it's like, everybody will spend money on crap. So when you learn that system and you bring value to people who want to spend money on crap, it's always going to be that way. And like I said, I mean, is it a bad way of saying it? Yeah, maybe, but it's like I have the vintage He-Man that's worth $600. It's a piece of plastic with a comic book. Why is it so valuable? Because they said so. It's kind of like with paper money. Why is paper money worth anything? Because they said so. Why is Monopoly not worth anything? No one said that it's worth it. So it's that the way I tell my sons, money doesn't exist. It's the systems that exist. Silver and gold is, money because, they call it God's money because of, it's been around ever since, Bible days. That's the first thing they use. So I'm always trying to teach my sons financial education. Like my little one, we played cash flow. You ever play the cash flow game? It's
no.
Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's like Monopoly on steroids. So you play this game, go play Monopoly, you will whoop everybody's ass. Within everybody's like, well, Monopoly takes forever. I said, if you take the system of cash flow and put it into Monopoly, your mindset has changed so drastically because people's like, oh, you're wasting your money. You're wasting your money. The game is not to see who wins. The game is to build who you are as a person. You get on this game board and my sons were like, well, I'm going to lose all my money. So now I'm going, okay, we got to get that system out because money has to move in order to grow.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to teach my boys is that financial education part of it, because I don't mind them going to schools to get to socialize in, because when school ends during the summer, whose job is it to keep them learning? It's like, my boys is like, okay, you go to the gym, you work out from September all the way till whenever school ends, what, May, March or whatever. I said, okay, stop for 3 months. What happens to your body? And they were like, well, you start losing your muscle and your mass. Yeah. So what do you think happens to your brain when you're playing video games and hanging out with your friends for 3 months? So what I do with my boys, even if it's in the hour, I still keep the math, whatever next level math they're going to be in the next year. I'm always trying to keep them one step ahead, because it's like, I was always that kid, like, okay, we're not learning nothing during June, July, August. And then you go back to 5th grade. Now we have to restart our brain to start thinking again. And that's what gets a lot of kids frustrated, because they forgot everything from 4th grade because we had the break. Now 5th grade. I said, in China, they don't get a summer break. It's constantly. And so that's what I do with my kids is I constantly videos, financial videos, just, well, can we listen to music? Yeah, after we're done with this. I said, I want you to be one step ahead of everybody. I said, we grew up on Michael Jordan, Walter Payton. I said, why do you think they were better than everybody else? 4 hours of workout when this guy's only working 1 hour. So
teaching everyone. Yeah.
I mean, and like I said, that's just how I want my kids, because I don't want them dependent on the banks or these student loans. And my oldest, he goes, well, why don't I just get a student loan? I said, okay, so you're going to get a student loan, go to college, get out of college, then you have to get a job to pay back the loan. So you get a job to pay back the college. It's like, okay, well, if you get into real estate, get a wholesale deal, 3 deals, you're done with college. It's gonna pay college, you're done. And I said, you might not like real estate, but it's gonna give you the freedom that you want to do what you love instead of going to get the money from the bank. Get a property, get a duplex, have the rent pay for your college.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's the way I teach my students. It's like, well, why would you go get a loan when, that's how the banks keep you going.
Yeah.
So
That's powerful. Teaching that financial literacy piece is so important. Man, any last words that you'd like to say to dads out there? Any advice that, if there's one piece maybe of advice that you think every dad should hear, what do you think that should be?
This would be the best dad you can be. There, like I said earlier in the beginning, being a parent doesn't come with an instruction manual. Read a lot of books about, trying to be a good dad, because we're going to make mistakes. No dad's ever perfect. But always listen to your kids. Let your kids be themselves. Stop trying to, like, if you go to these football games and you hear these dads just drilling in, like, you could do, like, I get that, the competitive, but let them make mistakes, because if they don't, they're gonna be so scared to talk to you when they do make a mistake. And they won't talk to you. They'll hold it in. It's like, and let them cry. It's okay for a boy to cry. It's okay for a man to cry. It's okay. And that's where I teach my kid, is like, don't cry over something stupid, like a video game. Don't let the video game kick your ass. Don't cry over a game. So my advice is just let your kids grow. Let them be themselves. Stop trying to control. I mean, you want some control, but to the point where you see them flourish.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, I guess see it this way: when you plant a seed, you got to nurture it just right. You know, we give it water. If you give a plant Kool-Aid, it's not going to grow. You give it water, it's going to grow.
Yeah.
And it was in a weird way. Those are our seeds. Those are us.
Mhm.
That we made those.
Yeah.
So it's us to, to the point where if they were in the wilderness, we got to get them to the point where they can just go take off and fly. We're not there to cuddle and let them take their bumps and bruises. Okay, get back up. Let's do this again. But not to the
Yeah.
point where now I don't want to do this no more.
Yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful, man. Well, thank you so much, man. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I know I've learned a lot, and I'm sure everyone that listens to this will learn a lot. Tell people where they can find you on TikTok and anywhere else you are.
I'm on LinkedIn for the business page under Pete Spirit Rodriguez. Facebook, same Spirit, Pete Spirit Rodriguez. LinkedIn is not LinkedIn. Instagram's Hulk Smash 31, which and then TikTok. I got 3 of them. One's Motivated Spirit. The other one is I'm trying to remember, Spirit 31 Chi-Town. So I mean, if anybody's on there, I do a lot of motivational stuff, fitness stuff. It's like I said, it's not to be famous. I want my sons to see that dad never gave up. That's the only reason I do a lot of videos. I mean, he was funny. He wasn't angry. Like you said, when you went home, and I'll end with this. When you came home and your dad came home angry and mad, what was your feeling? It's like we would try to hide. That's the thing I didn't want for my boys. I want them, hey, dad, can we go hang out? Hey, let's go play football. Can we go to the movies? That's the attitude and the feeling, like you said, the earlier dads that we grew up watching, the Huxtables, the Winslows, even in the older black and white movies. Andy Griffin was another good dad. It was just those were those conversations that I needed to hear. So if you're a dad out there and you're having that problem, go back, reset. Even if you get mad at your kid, go back, reset, because when you're angry, you're saying stuff that you really don't mean, and those kids remember that. I was one of them. So
yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful, man. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And look forward to seeing you on TikTok and interacting, and hopefully you'll join the community that we have also, where dads will be able to talk and share different advice and things like that.
yeah, I'm
Awesome.
all about it, man. Like I said, any single dads out there that need to reach out. Like I said, I don't have all the answers. I know you don't, but maybe one little word will be like, aha, because like I said, we didn't have that father figure. I did, especially me. Even to this day, do I say certain things to upset my son? Yeah. In my head, it's playing around, but he takes it seriously. So we have to sit down and be like, okay, what's the matter? And well, you said this. Oh, I was just playing. Let's hug it out. I'll never say it again.
Yeah.
So, being a fighter, being competitive, sometimes, you play a little too rough, or, I say something, oh, you can't handle me. He takes it seriously because, like I said, the back and forth with mom, and then there's other guys talking in his ear. And so it's always, okay, well, we got to sit down, and, it's fun.
It definitely is. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
No problem.